It's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Saturday, November 5th. So we have the moon in Aries all day, giving us a little bit of fire in the cosmos. We are definitely lacking fire at this particular moment in time. That's why there's not a whole lot of action. We want to take action, but of course, Mars, who rules over this Aries energy, is retrograde. So we're not able to kind of execute and exert ourselves as forcefully as we would like in order to make things happen at the moment. But nonetheless, the urgency and the impulse to take action and to make a great change is absolutely there. Keep in mind, we're in eclipse season. There will be no action until after the portal closes, after the 8th, when we have our full moon total lunar eclipse in Taurus. So we are just supposed to be surrendering, riding the wave, sitting back, seeing what comes up and what flows to us. We are under the divine organization of the cosmos, and we will be sorted out. We will know exactly the direction that we're supposed to be taking and see where all the moves need to be made after eclipse season is over. So with the moon in Aries, we are very direct, very bold, very brave, very courageous. We are a straight shooter. We're very, very straightforward in kind of taking our emotions and expressing our emotions, but we are kind of on the edge of agitation because, of course, Mars is retrograde. We are feeling that restless energy, and we are also feeling that impulse to make major moves, which, of course, we cannot make. It is very advisable to just calm yourself down, sit back, wait until the universe actually supports us and giving us the green light go ahead. So it's quite a busy day here in the cosmos with 13 different aspects taking place here today, and 10 of them involve the moon. The moon is going to semi-square Saturn very early on here in the day, and this is definitely going to add some agitation and some frustration, some restlessness to what it is that we're trying to hold back on because, of course, Saturn is trying to show us what it is that we need to build from here. Where are the foundation? Where are the systems? Where are the structures need to be initiated, need to be brought to life? And of course, emotionally speaking, we want to act on that. But right now we are having to sit back and contemplate the logical, practical strategy that we are going to take and make when the green light is given to us. But this is why we're agitated and frustrated. That Mars energy, that Aries energy wants to just act now and deal with the consequences later, and we can't. Mars is retrograde in Gemini energy, which means that we have to kind of sit in the intellectual battlefield and think about our plans, think about how we're going to use our energy wisely, think about the strategy that we're going to have to put into place in order to actually start building the bridge to get us from where is that to where it is that we desire to be. The moon is going to make a very positive interaction with Mercury. So the moon in Aries and Mercury in Scorpio have one common factor, which is Mars. Mars co-rules over Scorpio and is the primary ruler over Aries energy. And having the moon, which is our heart space, and Mercury, which is our head space, on the same page is never a bad thing. The moon is inspiring us to be bold, to be brave, to be courageous, to step up, to do the work, to actually dive into the shadow realm that, of course, the Scorpio energy is all about in order for us to totally transform not only our thoughts, not only our vision, not only our intent, not only our perception, perspective, and understanding, but the emotions that are needed in order to make this great change, this great transformation, which Scorpio season is all about. The sun in Scorpio is going to make an interaction with Chiron, the wounded healer. Now, this is a little bit of a tension point, a conflict point, but the tension and conflict is divinely scripted in order for us to actually be forced in to making a move. Now, what kind of move? Well, first of all, seeing things differently. Second of all, making a move in our emotions, in our growth, in our healing. That is what Chiron is all about. Now, the sun in Scorpio is shining a bright light on what it is that we actually need to let go of, what we need to end, what we need to close the door on, what it is we need to put a certain death to within ourselves, within our past, within our mindset, within our lives, in order to actually move forward. Scorpio energy is highlighting what it is that we have to let go of in our shadow realm in order for us to grow, in order for us to heal. So we will likely be given a situation in our outside realm of experience that we don't have control over that will flick on a light bulb within us and say, okay, so if I react the same way that I've always reacted to similar situations, I'm only ever going to get what it is that I've got. I can see very clearly the trigger, the warning that I'm getting in my emotional field. What am I going to do about it? Where am I going to take an action or make a move or boss up in order to deliver a different type of response to this situation, which essentially will help me heal some wounds? It's going to be a good jam for us, but again, it comes with a little bit of conflict, a little bit of tension, because that, my friends, is how us humans learn and change. The moon is going to make a very positive interaction with the sun. And again, the moon in Aries, the sun in Scorpio. What do we have in common? Mars. What's Mars going through? A retrograde. What is he in? Gemini energy. What does this mean? It means that we really have to sit back, strategize, think about the pros and cons of a certain choice, decision, path, and direction. Now, the moon typically highlights where it is that we're coming from, and the sun typically illuminates where it is that we're trying to go. The moon in Aries is trying to show us where it is that we have to let go of some anger, where it is that we have to let go of some ego wounds, where it is that we have to kind of move past this, I'm going to say, tantrum phase that many of us are in right now because we don't have control over a lot of things in our lives. And what we're being asked to do is to kind of cut the cord with that, to realize that the sun in Scorpio is showing us where it is that the path of empowerment is going to lead us out of the darkness and into the light. So what we get is this overlap, and what that overlap is this present moment, here and now. Recognizing that the two parts of self, the old version and the new version, are coming together and asking the present version which parts we want to keep, which parts we've outgrown, what parts need to die, and what parts need to be rebirthed. So the moon is going to go ahead and make a positive interaction with Pluto. Pluto rules over Scorpio energy, Scorpio season. Pluto is direct now in Capricorn energy, meaning that we have the power, we have the control, we have the authority to make some major moves in our lives and basically restructure our freedom, our independence. Now, this is, I'm going to throw the word sovereignty at you because that's a big topic and theme for this great awakening. And the moon in Aries is all fired up and ready to go. We are bold, we're brave, we're courageous. We are able to do whatever it is that we have to do in order to get out of this funk that we are in. Now, emotionally speaking, we have sat in the darkness for quite some time. We are reaching the halfway point of Scorpio season. The first chapter of Scorpio season usually has us dabbling in the darkness. Then we start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. We start crawling towards that light. And the last phase of Scorpio season is empowerment, right? So we're almost there. We will be there closer to the next week marker of the full moon in Taurus energy. And right now there is an emotional shift that is taking place, kind of cutting the cord with the hurt, with the torment, with the disappointment, with the past, in order for us to boss up in all the right ways and prepare ourselves for a major change, especially in direction. The moon is going to make a positive interaction with Venus. Here's an interesting little tidbit. Aries energy is ruled over by Mars. Mars is the masculine counterpart. Venus, of course, is the feminine divine energy who is currently sitting in Scorpio energy that Mars co-rules over. So there's a little bit of a, I'm going to say, topsy-turvy backward situation here where the moon in Aries is coming into this harmonious interaction with Venus and Scorpio. This is lighting a fire within us because, of course, Venus is almost halfway through her time in Scorpio. Yes, the first chapter was her picking herself apart, peeling back the layers of her pain, of her trauma, of her self-worth, of her self-confidence. Now we're at this pivotal point where she's starting to look up from the bottom of the pit that we've been in. She sees where daylight is shining a bright light on the exit point out of this dark hole, this dark pit, this dark tunnel. And she is tapping into her feminine divine energy, the dark feminine divine energy that isn't negative. It is a very powerful force. It is what essentially we are going to tap into to dust ourselves off, to pick ourselves up, to start climbing our ass out of this hole. So the moon in Aries is giving us like this masculine force of, you know what, don't mess with us. We're going to be able to take action. We are going to pick ourselves up. We are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And of course, the feminine divine energy of Venus and Scorpio energy is all about it because she is on the peak, the edge, the precipice of her deep, dark transformation of turning that pain into power and turning that darkness into light. This is definitely going to shine a bright light on what it is that we need to kind of be doing within ourselves to heal some of the wounds that we've identified while sitting in Scorpio season, because we're recognizing now that the wounds inside of us are attracting people to us that have the same kinds of wounds or can mirror back to us where our wounds are still alive and well. And so essentially speaking, we are looking to do the patchwork within ourselves so that we can put an end to the trauma bonds that we keep attracting in our life. And in doing so, we are identifying what it is that we actually need, what we want, what we need, what we desire, especially where our relationships are concerned. Now, the sun in Scorpio is going to come up to, sit next to the south node. Now, we talk about the true node all the time. The true node is usually connected to the north node. The north node is in Taurus. This is why we're having the eclipses on the Scorpio and Taurus axis. The south node is the past, where it is that we're coming from, what it is that we're comfortable with, what it is that's familiar, what it is that we've outgrown. The north node is what it is that we have to boss up and get in alignment with, what it is that we have to set our sights on achieving. So the sun in Scorpio is coming up to, sitting next to, teaming up with the south node, shining a bright light on our past. Even more than that, shining a bright light on what it is that we're holding on so freaking dearly to, that we're obviously causing our own blockages in the amount of progress that we're able to actually make at this time. We are shining a bright light on what it is that we're no longer in alignment with, but for some reason, we're holding on to certain elements of our old version of ourselves, of our old realities. Why? Because they're comfortable. They're familiar. But guess what? No growth happens when you're comfortable and when you're in a familiar environment. Growth happens when you're outside of that zone. So because we are about to have this full moon total lunar eclipse in Taurus on the 8th, this is like a preview of saying, hey, in case you haven't noticed, in case you've been running from it, here's your past. Here's the parts of yourself that you had to kind of embody in order to get through what it is that you had to go through. But here it is. Now you can see what it is that you've outgrown, what it is that you're desperately holding on to, where it is that you have a fear of letting go altogether in order for you to actually move on. So this is going to be quite an aha moment for many of us, and it's probably not going to feel good. Probably going to show us where it is that because we don't know what to do right now, we're at a crossroads point, we're very, very uncomfortable, where it is that we tend to fall back on old habits and patterns and behaviors that aren't good for us. We've outgrown it. We're no longer in alignment with it. And the more that we focus and consume and align with the old, the further away the blessings and the abundance of the future is going to be. So the moon goes ahead and bumps into Mercury in not the nicest way. But let me just say this is likely going to come in a form of information, of a communication breakdown. Something's happening in our outside realm that we don't have control over. The moon, of course, is our heart space. Mercury, of course, is our head space. Mercury's in Scorpio, trying to do the detective work to get to the bottom of the truth, to unearth the unconscious blocks in our mental plane that's preventing us from actually moving forward. The moon and Mercury interacting in this way, like I said, an activation, a trigger coming from the outside world, is likely going to put things in perspective. And right now, we're not sad over seeing people's true colors. We are welcoming that particular situation because it removes a lot of the guesswork, right? So with the moon being in Aries, we're not messing around. We're pretty straightforward. We don't mind cutting the cord right then and there. If you are showing us a part of you, a part of your thoughts, if you're speaking to us in a way that we do not appreciate, that is going to hold us back and keep us confined in this prison in which our old selves have created, then we will just cut you off because we're bold enough. We're brave enough. We have the courage to walk away from things that we wouldn't dream of walking away from even 2 weeks ago. So this is like a aha moment. And let me just say, if you are put in the position to have, these types of conversations, yes, watch yourself, the filter needs to be used, which many of us don't have right now because we're speaking the truth and it's raw and it's vulnerable. It's a little bit spicy, but you could also be the one that is the trigger for someone else, which means that maybe you're speaking some truth. Maybe you're letting them know what your true colors and true intentions are, which by all means, speak your truth. Don't go out and maliciously try to hurt people. If you got to say something, you got to say something, but just be aware that just because this energy means that something's happening in our outside world doesn't mean that you're not the one who's involved in this trigger and activation for somebody else. This is when the moon is going to come up to conjunct sit next to Chiron, who is retrograde in Aries energy. Now, Chiron, yes, being the wounded healer, does illuminate the wounds that we are set out to heal, but also gives us the wisdom and the resources in order to heal said wounds. This particular energy could very well pick open all the scabs that are actively trying to heal. We could feel raw, we could feel aggressive, we can feel impulsive, we could feel just agitated right to F. Or we could see where it is that, guess what, we're tired of these wounds being wide open. We're tired of having salt rubbed in them. We are just, at the point where we've had enough, because of course this moon in Aries is a no bullshit type of energy. And we're able to see what it is that has been actively wounding us, where it is that we've been taking an active role in allowing these wounds to stay alive and well and open. And because this is about Chiron being retrograde in Aries energy, this is all about the ego identity in which we've built. And many of us have built our ego identities based off of the pain and the trauma and the wounds that we have accumulated in life. Many of us not even knowing who the hell we would be if we were healed overnight and we couldn't align with the pain and the trauma and the wounds that have been created from our experiences. Who would you be if you didn't have the pain and trauma from your storyline to constantly be influencing your decisions in the here and now? So Venus is going to go ahead and directly oppose Uranus. So Venus is in Scorpio energy. Scorpio energy sits across from Taurus energy that Uranus is currently retrograde in. Venus rules over Taurus energy. She is in her opposite polarized energy in Scorpio. So what we get here is a little bit of tension, a little bit of conflict. So what does this mean? Well, first of all, Uranus, we have to expect the unexpected. And what we're kind of expecting, let's say, is a sudden shift in events. So we could have just wild card energies pop off, good, bad, or otherwise. That's up to you. We could have a sudden shift in our feelings. Maybe what it is that we've been sitting in, we're finally over. We don't even give an F about it anymore. Maybe we're awakening to the feelings that we either have or don't have for particular people in our lives. Maybe there is a sudden shift in what it is that you're actually interested in, what you're attracted in, especially when it comes to romantic partners. We have to just kind of realize we're in eclipse season. We have to be open to surprises. And Uranus energy is the great awakener, likes to shake us up. There's a lot of instability right now. We don't know if we're coming or going, if whether things are up or down or good or bad. Again, eclipse season, adding an extra layer of chaos onto that. This is likely going to trigger a lot of restlessness within us, a lot of rebellion if we're put in certain situations where we feel trapped. There's a huge, huge want, need, and desire to just kind of curl up in a ball in our comfort zone and just ride all of this out. But the inner realm of all of us is currently competing with the want, need, and desire to have like soul merging connections and intimate connections with the people that we love versus the desire to be left all the way alone, to be our independent selves, to dance to the beat of our own drum, and to kind of put ourselves in an isolated state. So this is kind of positioning us for a huge change. Especially at our emotions and our perspectives first and foremost, because the physical changes to our physical reality is coming with the full moon total lunar eclipse in Taurus. The moon is going to make a positive interaction with Mars, its ruler, who is retrograde in Gemini energy. This has the potential to really kind of, I'm going to say, switch up our focus, our motivation, our inspiration. We are aligning with a path, with an idea, with a decision, with a choice that, yeah, we can't take action on, even though we wish we could right now. But the thought process, something is triggering us in all the positive ways to say, you know what, I'm cutting the cord with the BS, with my mind state, with my emotions that is constantly keeping me in this repetitive cycle. Mars, of course, is about our physical action, our passion, our desires, and he's stunted out. It's a personalized, internalized journey for us right now with Mars in retrograde, and it's taking place in Gemini, which means there's a lot to process in that mental plane of ours. But emotionally speaking, because that's what the moon is all about, we are feeling bold and brave and courageous. We are fired up in all the right ways to align with a certain perspective, an understanding, a perception, an idea, a choice, a decision, a path, and we're feeling pretty freaking good about it. The moon goes ahead and interacts with the true node, giving us an opportunity to see where it is that we're being forced to change, where we're being forced to grow. Now, force never feels good. Force to do anything never feels good, but unfortunately, we're human beings, and until our back is against a wall and we're tired of feeling a certain way, we don't make any changes. So emotionally speaking, we're riding this wave from this earlier interaction with, yes, Venus and Uranus shaking things up and really, changing our thoughts, changing our feelings. And then the moon and Mars coming together, kind of realigning our intent, our mission, our purpose, our motivation, our passions, our desires, our thoughts. And then the moon goes ahead and interacts with the true node, which is aligning us with what we're going to do when we're given the green light go ahead. What step are we taking forward? What are we healing through? What are we growing through? Where do we want to advance ourselves from here? This is all an inner journey right now. We're going to end the day off with the moon and the sun interacting in not the nicest way, but this way, again, creates a little bit of tension, a little bit of conflict within our lives, within our realities, within ourselves, in order for us to see what needs the attention the most, what needs to change the most. The moon, of course, in Aries energy is just fired up and ready to cut the cord with whatever we identify as holding us back and blocking us from moving forward. And the sun, of course, in Scorpio season is ready to show us what parts of us, our mind, our thoughts, our emotions, our memories, our patterns, our behaviors, our realities, do we have to let go of, cut the cord with, in order to empower ourselves to move forward, to make this change, to make this transformation, to ultimately alter who it is that we are, up-leveling, bossing up to the 2.0 version of ourselves once Scorpio season is all said and all done.